Angular contributor. I contribute to NGRX, and I have few open source projects of mine which I manage. I mean, if I get some time, and there are a few on which we are working. So that's what I do. In case you are on Twitter, you can follow me on Santosh Yadav Dev, and I'm also on LinkedIn. So if you are on LinkedIn and you want to connect, feel free to send me a connection request. So in this talk, we will be talking about NGRX, and we'll see how NGRX started and a little bit about his history, and then we will also see an application where NGRX we will implement an NGRX store and effects. So let's go ahead and get started. So a little bit of history, as I said. So Angular NGRX was released. The first version of NGRX was released back in 2017. So it's like more than 3 years now, and it has like around 5.9K stars on GitHub. It was created by one of the Googler. So Rob Warmold was the creator of NGRX, and he created it to be part of Angular framework, but somehow it didn't happen. So finally, he decided to make it an open source project with, of course, with the permission of Google, and then it was given to the community. Now it is being managed by two of the GDs and two of the amazing community members, Mike Ryan and Brandon Roberts. And of course, open source projects cannot survive without the contributors, right? So contributors like you and me. So there are around more than 250 contributors to this project till date, and we have some of the core team members as well. So Mike Ryan and Brandon Roberts is the maintainer of the project. Apart from that, we have three core members for NGRX: Tim, Alex, and Wesley Grims. And this was the just a small history about NGRX. So what NGRX does? So state NGRX is not a single library. So whenever we talk about some packages, for example, we talk about Angular or we talk about React, we talk about a single package, right? Even though in Angular, if you go ahead and see, there are multiple libraries which are available. For example, there is Angular Forms, there is Angular Router. So similarly, NGRX is often taken as like a single package which is available, and most of the time it's stored. So it's not like that. It's an state management framework. So it offers different libraries for different use cases, which we will see. And it's actually a state management framework for Angular, not a library. So remember, there is a difference between library and framework. So framework is something where you can also go ahead and configure it based on your requirement, or framework, I would say, which offers multiple libraries if I have to define in a single sentence, right? So of course, here NGRX also offers many packages, many libraries which are part of it, and uh, there are few which is under development as well. The first version of first NGRX was based on Redux pattern. So Redux, of course, is a very popular pattern when you go to something like React, and it contains multiple libraries, as I said. So it contains multiple libraries for managing your state, and it promotes the use of functional programming. So we will see there are few methods or few functions which are available which we can use to manage our application state. So what's state management? So let's take a scenario. You are on e-commerce website, right? For example, let's say Amazon, and you decided that okay, these are some. So every e-commerce website, they have filters. So they have a lot of filters. You can choose which category you want, which brand you want. So you can apply all those filter. And just take a scenario where you applied all the filter, but just went to some product, and you came back on the main screen, and your filters are gone. So I think you will be like this guy, right? What's happening? What went wrong? Where is my filters, right? So this is where state management is very important. So they improve your user experience as well, and of course the performance of your application. So if I'm saving some data in my store, in my web application, so I'll be able to respond faster to my users request. So to do that, Angular has. So we have something known as store. So store is simple. It is a state management for Angular. and it is inspired by Redux. So store is the most important thing which we need to understand. And then we have effects. So consider store as, let's say, I'm sure most of you are aware of the databases, right? So consider the store as a database which is available on your front end. We are not talking about backend. So a database which is available on my front end, and I can dump or save some data whenever needed, and I can retrieve it whenever I want to. Then we have effects. There will be scenarios where you want to take some data from your backend, right? It's not like your entire data will be available on your front end. You will of course connect to some services, you will connect to some backend, and then you will retrieve the data. How that can be possible? Store, it's not possible using store. So we have another library called effects. So effects are used whenever you want to retrieve some data from your uh, API call. So go ahead and use effects. Then we have another package which is called router store. So you can just, I think you can just guess. So it's router and store. So this package actually connects your Angular router with NGRX store. So if I say, let's say router, right? So there is a activated route service, there is a router service, and if I want to retrieve some state information of a router, so what I can do is I can just use router store, and all the information will be already available inside my store. So you can use router store in case you want to take any information out of your routing. Then we have entities. So entity is another package which is available, and there is a difference. So you can say store is, for example, if I want to save any information, I can just use store. But let's say I have some entities. Entities I would call as, for example, employee, department. I have predefined entities. Okay. So in store, I have to write the code to tell the Angular, tell my application that how to save the data and how to update the data or how to remove the data from the store. But in entity, if you use entity, you get some built-in functions. So some built-in functions which are already available to modify your data, to remove your data from store, to add your data from store, or update your data into the store. So everything is available. So entity is something which you can say a wrapper above store. But in case you already have predefined entities, remember, if I talk about entity, you also need to have a primary key. So that's really important. If you don't have, for example, you have just some interface where you don't have any primary key available, go ahead and use store. But if you have entities defined, employee, department, and everything contains some ID, some unique ID, you can go ahead and use entity. We have a few more packages. So NGRX data. NGRX data was introduced as a package inside Angular, NGRX last year. So NGRX data was created by John Papa and Ward Bell. So they were the creator of NGRX data, and they had one vision that, for example, if I'm taking a lot of data from my backend, right? So if I'm connecting to my API, getting the data, so the data was based on that approach. So whenever I have a lot of API calls, I will go ahead and use data. And it's again a wrapper on top of NGRX store and NGRX effects. And those are the two things which you are going to see. Next package which is available is called Store DevTools. So remember, when you work with any framework or any library, at the end, the most important thing for us is to understand how to debug the application. If you cannot debug the application using any framework or a library, it means you are just into a wrong framework or a library. You should not use that particular thing. So to debug NGRX applications, you have something known as Store DevTools. Store DevTools is inspired by Redux DevTools. So you will see a lot of similarities in case you have used React DevTools, right? So Store DevTools, which will capture all the events which is happening inside NGRX, of course, which NGRX is inside your application. So everything happening inside your application, you can see via Store DevTools. And we will, of course, go ahead and debug the application which we have created, and we'll see how we can figure out, okay, what's going on in my application. Then there are two new packages which were introduced this year. One is known as NGRX component. So I'm sure if you have worked on Angular, you are aware of Zone, ng Zone, right? So there are large applications where people think that ng zone is responsible for performance hits. So last year at one of the conference, Mike Rand came up with an approach where he said it's possible to run Angular without ng zone, and we will create a library which can do that. So this year they actually one of the GD and one of the core member of RxJS, Michael Haldaki, he actually worked on this particular library and he made it available. So if you want to remove ng zone from your application, it's possible today. You can just use NGRX component and you can just remove ng zone from your application. Then we have a new package which is being worked on. So it's not fully available right now. I think it's still in progress. So it's known as component store. Remember, NGRX, when we talk about NGRX store, it's available for your entire application. So you want to manage the state of your entire application. Then we will use NGRX store. But what about a single component? For example, let's say a component where we have a data table. Okay. And in data table, we can edit the record, we can add the records, we can add rows, delete rows, and we need a functionality where we should be able to do undo or redo type of functionality. It means we just want that the state of that particular component should be managed. And this is where component store is going to help us. So component store will be responsible for handling the state management or handling the state for a single component. So it's the use case is really great. So I was just speaking to the creator of component store, who is Alex, who works in Firebase team. So Firebase team has been actually using this library. So it's like 100 or he said around 150 lines of code, which they have been using, the Firebase team have been using from a long time. It's like more than a year. And then finally they decided why not to make it an open source, right? So because of course, if it is helping a product like Firebase, it can help hundreds of products. So it's still in progress, but the use case is really amazing. I'm just waiting for it so I can build something on top of it. We are going to talk about NGRX store. So as I said, store is an RxJS powered state management library for Angular application. So before using NGRX, you have to be aware of some little bit of RxJS. I'm sure, which is pretty difficult because RxJS is not that simple. And if you are struggling, believe me, I have been into the same boat and I still struggle because RxJS is not that easy. Every time I have to go ahead and figure out which function, which operator to use. So of course the doc is really great. I can just go ahead and see, okay, these are the different operators, and I think this is one which I can use. So next thing is state. We said, okay, the store is like your database where we can go ahead and save the data. But what that database will contain? So that database will contain multiple, that database will contain state for your application. So remember, inside your entire application, you can have only a single state. Okay, and state is something which is immutable data structure. If you are wondering what is immutable, don't be scared. We'll just see that next. To improve the performance of your application, we often talk about the change detection strategy on push. So if you're using NGRX store, it is possible to use change detection strategy on push to improve the performance of your application. There are three core concepts, which is action, reducer, and selector, which we'll see. And then to add NGRX store to your application, you can just create a new empty application, an Angular application, and then you can just run this command, ng-add NGRX store. So important takeaway from here is there should be a single state, and state should be an immutable data structure. So what's immutability, we'll discuss next. We can always use on push change detection strategy, so which will help us to improve the application performance. And there are three core concepts: actions, reducer, and selector. So let's see the immutability first. So this is an interface which I have, which is called iProduct, which has three parameters: ID, name, and price. And then I created a new product using the same interface. So I'm saying, okay, ID is 1, name is 1+, price is 45K. If I try to modify any of the property directly, it's mutating the object. So I'm here in first example, I'm mutating the object. But immutability says you should never modify an object directly. Rather, every time create a new object. So how I can create a new object? So I can just use the spread operator, which is available in ES6. So here you can say I'm creating a new product using the previous product, but I'm updating the name. That's it. So this is what we mean by immutability. And this is something which we'll see in our example as well. And the next part is this core concepts: action, reducer, and selector. So this is an official diagram from NGRX page, which was created by one of the community member called Jordan. So Jordan worked really hard to make it available, because till 2019, this diagram was not available. So it was released in 2017, but NGRX never had an official image or official flow chart to describe how NGRX works. So now this is available thanks to Jordan. And this is the way it works is you have a component. Of course, when we talk about Angular, most of the time we will be talking about component until and unless you decide to write a directive or service, right? So, but component is something which is visible to the user. So the way it works is a component will be responsible for raising an action. So what's an action? For example, let's say if I talk about an e-commerce product, the action can be get products, right? So I would say, okay, there is an action. So my component, let's say I have a product page, and as soon as my user comes into product page, my component, the product component, dispatches an action. So actions are something which will describe what to do. Okay. And then that action is, for example, let's say get product. Now, there are two scenarios. If that data is available inside my store, I can just use, or if I want to put that data into my store, I can just use reducer, or if I want to modify that data, I can use reducer. But if that data is coming from backend, so I have to go ahead and use effects. So what effects does is, I'm sure if you know about Angular, you know about Angular services. So what effects does, effects will go to my service. For example, let's say I have a product service. We'll see the demo soon, but let's just try to go through this diagram and see action, reducer, and selector, which are three important parts. So effects goes to my service goes to my backend, which can be an API, which can be a real-time database like Firebase. So it takes the data and it again dispatches an action to save this data into store. But to save the data in store, the only guy who can do that is reducer. If I want to update, modify, or access anything out of my store, the only guy who is responsible or who can do it is reducer. So what's a reducer? So reducer are, I'm sure if you have heard about JavaScript, you know about pure functions. So reducers are pure functions. Pure functions means in a reducer, if I call the same function with same parameter, I will always receive the same value. Okay, so they are reducers. So for example, if I have an add function, I call it with two parameters, 5 plus 5, it will always return me 10. So it's a pure function. But if my function or my action can have some side effects, for example, API call, right? Then it won't be handled by my reducer, because reducers can be only pure functions. They cannot do some task which raises an side effect. Side effects means the scenario where I'm not sure that I will receive the data, or if I will receive the same data again and again. So this is where we use effects. So now reduce, once I have my data, I can put it or update it inside my store using the reducers, which are pure functions. And once it is available in store, whenever I want to retrieve my data, I can do that using selector. So what is a selector? Consider, as I said, store is your database, right? So if I want to retrieve anything from my database, what we do in other programming languages is I just write a query. So similarly here also, what you can do is you can write selectors to retrieve some part of information out of your store. So it's not like if I have a page called product, inside my store, I can have different data, right? I mean, as I said, I can put most of the data into my store. For example, I have my products, I have my user. If a user is logged in, I have my user orders, I have my user information. But if a component is for product, I will not retrieve every information, right? So in that case, my user information, my products, my order information is useless. I just need my product information. Okay, these are the products. These are 100 products which are available on my website. So using selector, I can just select that part from my store. So this is what selector does. So let's go ahead and see the code, right? So to show you how this application looks like, let me just go to. Okay, so this is how your this is how the application looks like right now. So I have few products available here. So you can see there are 4 products. I can apply some filters, for example. Okay, so filter. So if I apply this filter, it only filters 2 records. But if I navigate away from my application and come back, the state of my filters are saved. So they are still available. This is not something which I'm fetching from the backend. I'm saving my filter into my store, and then my store is responsible for applying these filters again. Similarly, in case I want to add something to cart, I have to just add to cart, and then I can just retrieve my cart from here. I have added another example where I have list of teams. This is NBA teams, and I can just click on follow, and I can see in my teams which are the teams which I am following. So this is everything is managed by NGRX Store. So let's go ahead and see how it is done. So right now I have a app component, okay, and app module. So I have added. You can see. So whenever you do ng add and grx store, it will ask you to configure, or it automatically adds this line. So in store module.for root. So you are defining for your entire application, you are defining a state. So as we said, right, state is a single immutable data structure. So we are defining the state for our entire application. Here I'm using the teams. So this is a slice. So as I said, store is my entire database. I can put multiple things into my database. So right now I'm just saving the team's information. So whenever I want to retrieve the team information, this is the key from which I can go ahead and retrieve the information about my team. Similarly, I have another lazy loaded module. So which is again a feature module. So here I am defining another one, but I can use for root only once. So here I'm using for feature, and then I'm defining another slice called product. So if I have, for example, user orders, right? So I can just define an orders state, orders feature module, and then I can define, okay, for feature orders, and then, okay, this is reducer, which we will discuss soon. So first you have to define the slice. Okay, this will be product, this will be user, this will be teams information, this will be users information. So whatever you want to put in, and this, based on this, you will retrieve the information later on. And generally, so this is I have seen most of the people following the same approach. So what we do is we put all the files related to my NGRX store into a folder called state, or even any code related to NGRX. So right now I have state folder available here, and for teams also I have a state folder. So let's see, the first thing is we have to define some effects. So what I've done is in product, I have defined few states. So how to, how I have defined few actions. So how to write an action. So in Angular 8, in NGRX 7 or 7 and below, it was a different way. So the example which I'm showing right now is applicable for NGRX 8 and above. So Angular right now NGRX 8 and 9 for sure. And once 10 is released, so above 8, it's applicable. We have a function called create action. So it is also known as creator functions. So as I said, there are multiple functions which are available. So to create a new action, what you will do is you will create a constant. this is your variable name. You can give it whatever you like. So, and then we are creating a new action. So the first thing which you have to pass is the action itself. So generally the naming convention which we follow is this is your featured slice. Right now I'm talking about product, so I'm appending product in box. And why we are doing this is because when you debug your application, you need to know, okay, for if some actions are dispatched, it is dispatched for which slice of my entire store, right? So this is really handy in case once you want to debug something in inside your DevTools. So here I'm just appending the slice, and then these are some actions. So if I want to load a product, right? So what can be the different actions? So of course the first action can be get products. So get products, what it does, it goes to the backend and gets all the product. Once the products are available, what we can do is we can add the products into my store, which we'll see next. So this is next action, which defines an action called get product success, and it provides some metadata, or you can say it provides some payload. So this is a payload. So once an products are loaded from backend, what I will do is I will send this data to my reducer. So if you remember the image which we saw earlier, this one. So once effects gets the data, what it will do is it will raise another action which will save this data or send the data to reducer. Okay, so this will be the data which will be added into your store using reducer. And of course, if I am talking about some backend call, it's not possible that every time my call will be successful. So I have to make sure that I'm handling the failure as well. So the next action is to actually get product failure. But if I'm not getting from the backend, there will not be any failure. So what I can do is I can skip this. And I have created two more actions. One is to get the filtered product. Okay, and the next one is to add to cart. I'm not handling anything because there is no API call. Everything will be available into my store, and then I'm just pushing that data into my or updating that data into my store which is available. So these are few actions which I have defined, but who will handle this action? So let's go back to the configuration which we did. So we said, okay, this is the product slice and this is products reducer. So reducers, as I said, it's a pure function, and all the actions raised by your application will be handled by this reducer. So let's see how to do that. So in reducer, the first thing which we have to do is we have to define an interface. You have to define what you want to save in your database, or for here, what you want to save into your store, right? So you have to define few properties. So as per my application right now, so what I've decided is I will save products list. I will save the filters. So whenever I come back after navigation, I can see, okay, if there were any filters which were applicable. If there is any error while loading the data, I want to save the errors as well. And I also want to manage my cart data. So it's not mandatory that you should put everything into your store. Never do that. So you have to first decide, okay, what are the information which you think is available and which should be shared inside your entire application. So remember, state management, when we talk about state management, what it is like entire application sharing some data. And we want to make sure that that data is available, right? So here we are saying, okay, these are the information which I will save into store, rest you can just remove. And based on this interface, I create an initial state. So this will be the initial state when your applications is loaded. So I'm saying, okay, the products will be an empty array. The price filters will be 0 and 0, then error will be blank, and cart will be empty. Of course, there won't be any data. Then I am writing my reducer function. So all this is this is not your reducer. This is something which we'll discuss next, which is called selector. So this is where we define reducer. So similarly, as we did for actions, right? So there was a function called create action. To create a reducer, we have a function called create reducer. So what create reducer does is it takes an initial state. So this is the initial state which we have defined here. Okay, so whenever someone X tries to access this particular store for the first time, the initial state will be returned. And then it offers you a function called on. On function is responsible for handling all the actions which will be dispatched. So right now I'm handling 3 actions. So I'm saying, okay, product load success, product load failure, filter product, sorry, 4. So filter product and add to cart. So let's see what we are doing here is in product load success. What we are doing is we are getting the products information. So if you are wondering from where these products came in, we just saw the action, right? So in our action, we pass this as a payload. So once you pass this as a payload, it will be available inside your reducer. So here I'm saying, okay, this products is something which is available, and you can see, okay, it is also able to infer the data type. So it says, okay, this products is a type of iProduct array. And then I'm just updating my state using the same spread operator, which we just spoke about. So I'm saying, okay, this is state, and then from that particular state, go ahead and update the products to the products array which you have received and set the error to blank. If there is a failure, I'm saying go ahead and update the products to an empty array and error to the whatever error you get from the backend. For filter product, what we are doing is we are just updating the price filter. We are saying, okay, the min should be the min value. So here also there is another approach we can do. So remember payload, right? So there are 2 ways. If I say props, I will be able to access everything, but most of the time it is not required. So if you have multiple parameters, you can just pass something like this. So here I want to pass the payload as error, or if I have some different multiple parameters, for example, if I am also passing products, so I can just say comma comma. It depends upon from what you are mentioning inside your actions. So just remember that. So right now I'm just using error, so I can just use errors and remove these props here, right? Similarly, I could have removed this prop and use directly min and max, because this is the data which I'm passing in payload. So I can just say, okay, this min will be min and prop and max will be max. So this is something which is which you can do. And similarly in cart, I'm saying, okay, go ahead and add whenever I click on add product, go ahead and add that product into my cart. So this is something which my reducer does. So let's go ahead and try to see this in action. Okay, so this is my product. So right now I have all the products available, but I'm using effects for that. So just consider right now that this entire product is coming from your store, right? So once you apply some filters, what is happening is this filter min and max is actually being saved into a price filter property, right? So as soon as I click on filter, this is saved. And once I come back to the page, it is being retrieved. How it is being retrieved? Using selector. So we'll see that next. And similarly, if I add something to cart, so this action is actually responsible for modifying my cart. So if I add to cart and go back to cart, they are available because I have just added them into the cart using this particular action, add to cart. So this is how your store works. So whenever you dispatch an action, reducer will go ahead and capture that particular action, and it will modify your state. And who will define the state? Of course, you will be defining that state using an interface, and then you have to set an initial state. If you are using entities, the most of the things remain same apart from that, all this code which you are writing, you get an helper function out of NGRX entity. So if I want to add one product into the into my store, I get a method called add one, set one. There is something called there are many, right? So there are many methods which are available in entities. So here you are writing your own logic, but if you use entities, you get helper methods from Angular, from NGRX, and then you can go ahead and modify your state. So let's take now let's go one level up. So as we said, we are getting this data out of effects. So we said, okay, whenever we have an API call, we will use effects. So let's go ahead and see effects. So we have so far what we have seen is we have seen how to configure it by using for feature or for root. Then we can define the slice and then the reducer, which will be responsible for handling all the actions. We defined the actions using create action method. Then we defined an interface and used create reducer to write all the reducers. And then we saw on functions, which will be responsible for handling the actions which will be raised. For effects, we use a service. So this is how a service looks like in Angular. So you have a class and then you use again a creator function. So we have used create action, create reducer. Now we have next, which is known as create effect. So in create effect, we get so you need to inject the actions and then you can use the pipe operator to handle all the actions which is raised by your application. So if you see your reducer function, you can see there are only 4 actions which are handled. One action which is missing is called get products. So get products action is actually something which is getting the data from my backend. So I'm handling that particular action here. So I'm saying, okay, the action is of, so I'm using off type operator, which is available again into NGRX. And then I'm saying, okay, whenever there is an action which is called product load, go ahead and trigger this particular effect. And inside that, as I said, there you need to have a little bit idea about RxJS. So I'm using operator called merge map. You can use, I think last week there was some discussion that why merge map is used here. And as per the team, you could have used exhaust map as well. So that's absolutely fine. You have to choose the operator as per your requirement. So right now I've used merge map. And then inside that I'm calling the service. So if you see this service, it just returns the product list as an observable. So off function actually returns the same values, some objects as a observable. So this is what I'm doing. Product list is nothing but all this information, right? So some static information, which I'm just what I'm doing here is I'm just using the same plain data and mimicking the API. So I have not written the actual API, but I'm just returning the observable from a service, and then we are getting. And after that data is available, I am using the pipe operator, and then I'm using map operator to actually dispatch another action. So this action is product load success. If you remember, product load success is something which is available here. So when this API call is completed and it's successful, what it will do is it will dispatch this action with the products list. And this is how you receive your products list here. If there is any failure, we are using another function provided by RxJS, which is called as catch error. So in catch error, we are again dispatching an action saying, okay, this is the error which we are getting, and reducer will handle this particular action and it will just update the error information. So this is how your effects come into picture. So let's go ahead and see that here. So once I have done the same for team list. For example, if I inspect this, I'm sure everyone knows about network tab. So if I go to network tab and let's refresh. So all this teams information actually I'm getting from an external API. So this is the API which is responsible for giving me the data. So it is ball don't lie. Okay, some random API which I got from the internet, which gives me some NBA information. Okay, and if I click on follow here and go to my teams, you can see there is no API call now. I'm getting all this information from my store. So no API calls after once it is all the data is loaded. Here we won't be able to see any API call because we don't have any API call. It's like I'm just faking the services, right? I've just I've just mocked the API actually. But yeah, so once it is available, so everything is available into store and it's retrieved from my store. So this is your effects. So what we have learned so far is your actions, then reducer, and then effects. To use effects, you have to also configure what are the different effects which we have written. For example, to you need to register those effects into your module. Right now I have just one effect, so product effect. But if I have multiple, I can just say comma and add more. So for example, if you have very big feature, it's possible that it may need multiple effects to retrieve your data from the backend, right? So you can just create another effect and just say comma, 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 and register all those effects here. Similarly, if you need the effects to be available on your root, so you can just go ahead and say, okay, effects module dot for root, and then just add all the effects which you have to handle your state for your, for your main module, root module. It's always advised to actually split them into feature level. So I just wanted to show both the configuration. That's why I have done this. Otherwise, in real time scenario, I will move this for team and teams effects into teams module. So right now I have not done that. It's something which you can just clone this application and try. Okay. The next thing which we want to see right now is how to get this data. So we said, okay, we have everything, all the data which is available inside my application into my store. Now I don't want to retrieve everything. For example, if I go to this cart page, I don't need all the other information. For example, what are the different products, or what is the filters applied. I just need, okay, give me the data which is available inside my cart. This is where we need selectors. So we write selectors, which are similar to, as I said, it's a query to get the product. You can always go ahead and write the selectors into reducer file, or if you prefer writing it in another file, that's absolutely fine. So let's see how to create the selectors or how to create the queries. So here, I'm sure now you might have guessed that there should be some create function. So as I said, create action, create create reducer, create effects. Now we have something known as create feature selector. So inside my store, I have two slices, if you remember. So one is product, one is team. Here, for example, if I just want to select the information which is available inside my product slice. So what I will do is I will use create feature selector, and then I will pass the interface, of course, which I have created. And here is the slice. So I want to select the product slice from my store. Similarly, if I go to teams, I will just select the teams slice from my store. Once I've selected this, I have written few queries. To do that, you have to use create selector function. Create selector function, first parameter will always be the feature selector, the slice which you want to select, right? So here I am saying, okay, select all the information from my store where slice is product. Then I am getting the information which is available in my store, and I'm saying, okay, if my store information has price filter applied, go ahead and return me the filter product. If there is no filter applied, go ahead and return me entire products. This is what I'm doing here into my get product list information or get product list. The next function which I have created is to get the filtered products. So I'm saying, okay, give me the filtered products only, right? So this is to get the filter products. Then I have get filters as well, because I want to show those filters on my UI. So I have written another selector called get filters, which will give me what is the min price, what is the max price. And then I have written another selector to just select the cart information. And this is just returning me the state.cart, because cart is something which holds all the information about my cart. Now, of course, we have seen different parts, right? We have seen how to write action. We have seen how to write reducer. We have seen how to write effects and how to write selectors. But how to connect them? This is where most important thing inside your application comes into the picture. So if you remember, if you just think about this diagram, we have discussed everything apart from component. So component is one who is actually responsible for dispatching action and selecting something from that store. So let's go back to the component. So this is the product component.ts which we have used. So here, let's go back, and here we have injected the store. So you can see I have used something known as store from my NGRX store, and this is the state which I'm passing here. So this is the interface which we have used, right? To get all the products, what I have done is I have dispatched an action. This is how you will dispatch an action whenever you want to select something or you want to do some action or perform some action. So here I'm dispatching an action which says product load. Product load is one of the actions defined here. So where it will go to my effect, because I have defined in my effect that all the product load actions should be handled here, and it retrieves the information and raises another action. Here I am again raising an action which goes to reducer and updates my store. So most important thing is, of course, until unless your component doesn't dispatch any action, nothing will happen. So this is the first action which was raised, and then I'm selecting all the information from my I'm selecting some information using my selector function which is written. So here you can see I'm saying, okay, this dot products, this is an observable. So if you see this variable, so it is nothing but observable of our product. So here I'm saying go to the store. Store is of course a service which we have injected here. Go to the store and select a selector called get product list. So if I go again to my code, which is reducer, and we want to select, let's see which one is this, get product list. So if I go to this reducer and see a selector called get products, it means this filter will be, or this selector will be used. So it will check, okay, if this filters are available, go ahead and apply these filters and return me selected filtered products. Otherwise, return me all the products. So this is what your products is responsible, or your component is responsible to do. Similarly, if I filter products, right? So if I want to dispatch an action to filter the products, what I have done is I have dispatched another action where I'm saying, okay, go ahead and dispatch this particular action, which is known as filter products. And in filter product, I have min and max values, right? So if I go to reducer again and see this filter product, so you can see min and max, which is dispatched from here. And this is what they will do. So once they are dispatched, it will go ahead and update the price filter values. So this is what my another action is doing. But if I go to cart, do you think any do we need to dispatch anything? The answer is no, because everything is available into my store. So what I can go ahead and do is I can just select the values from my store, and this is how we do it. So store.pipe and then select. Of course, select comes from NGRX store and your selector name or the variable which you have defined. So here I'm saying get cart. So get cart is this particular selector. And this is how entire NGRX store effects, and if you combine everything, entire flow works. But of course, this is from a code level, right? What in case I'm new to an application, I want to see, okay, how your data is being updated or how your data or store is being changed. We need to go ahead and debug application. So this is what we will see next, right? Sorry. So this is where NGRX DevTools plays an important role. So to use the NGRX DevTools, you can just run a command called ngadd NGRX/DevTools. And once you add this, you might need to restart your Chrome browser, and you can go to this and use Redux. So this Redux option is available. Let me just restore do a refresh F5, and let me just zoom in and go to product. So you can see right now there are a few actions here. Why it is okay? Is this available by any chance? Someone can confirm if possible. DevTools. Okay. So in DevTools, you can see there are a few actions which are dispatched called NGRX store init, effects init, store update reducers. So these effects are actually, these actions are dispatched from the internal NGRX. This is something not this is something which we are not dispatching. Our actions always start from the feature slice, right? As we said. So you can see product, get products. So what happened in this state? So you can go ahead and see action. So the action was, okay, type product, get products. and you can see the diff. Okay, the states are equal. There is nothing which got changed. And in state, you can actually go ahead and see, okay, what was the previous at this state, what was the data. So here I had teams information defined and products information defined with initial state. Then product get product call got successful. At this point, what was the data? So my action was dispatched with this particular action and this particular values. If I go to diff, you will see, okay, the products information got added into my state. And this is my state, which looks, this is how it looks like after my get product success call was successful. Once we apply some filters, so you can see another action was dispatched, which is called get filtered products. And now my state, if you go to the difference, you will see, okay, my price filters were updated from min from 0 to 10,000 and max from 0 to 50K. And similarly in action, you can see all the values. And state, of course, everything will be updated in state right now. If I go to my cart, there is nothing available. But if I come back to product, you can see get products was called get, and what it did is it dispatched this action, but this time everything was available in my store. So nothing is actually, no call was made. I can just go to my, you can see, okay, this, yeah, you can see all the information is available here, because what I did is I checked in my store if my filters are available and then just filter the products. Similarly, if I click on add to cart, there will be an action dispatched called add to cart with the payload and the action. And once I go to my cart, actually this data is available because it was already available in my store. I'm just retrieving the information. You can also, the most important feature of this DevTools is time travel debugging. So you can always, if there is any issues which you are getting in your entire application, in entire flow, so you can just go to any action, click on this play button, and it will play the entire state, how it was updated. For example, right now I can go to product, get products, let it complete. Okay, let's go to get products, play it. And sorry, I have to come back. And now I'll see, okay, this is how my information got updated. So, okay, there was no filter applied, then there was filter applied, and I can just debug everything from my user actions, right? So if I see, okay, what happens once I apply the product, or what happens when I request this page for the first time, everything is actually captured inside your DevTools. And similarly for my teams, I can go ahead and see, okay, get my teams was called, then there is some delay in API call. If they are available, your team's information will be available. So you can have multiple slices. Right now I have team and product, but you, of course, in your application, you can have multiple slices, and everything is available inside your entire application. As I said, it's a single store. So of course, if inside product, I want to capture some information or get some information related to my user, I can still go ahead and do that. If that's a different slice, I have to just write the selectors. Once I've written the selectors, everything is available. I can just query and get the data. For example, if I just need a mobile number or shipping address for my cart page, I can do that. So this is how your stored DevTools work. And now, if I come back to this application, this diagram, I think you can just relate to everything. So what? Let's do a recap. Yep. So let's do a recap. So components which were responsible for dispatching an action. If my action is for an API call, it will go to effects. Effects will fetch the data and then raise another action to update my store. And who will be responsible for updating my store? It's only reducer who can do that. And once I want to retrieve some information, I can only do that using selector. In selector, I can decide which slice I want to access. For example, right now we had team and we had product. So if I want to just select product, I can just define, okay, create feature selector only for product. So this is the entire flow. And there are few alternatives as well. If you don't want to use NGRX, or you think that NGRX is something which is not required in your application, you can just simply use an Angular service with subject or behavior subject to manage your state. We have Akita as well. Akita is is something which you can use for Angular as well as normal JavaScript. Even you can use Akita in React application as well. Another alternative is something known as NGAccess, which is also popular library for handling all the state management. Of course, it is for Angular. You can go ahead and try that out as well. If you think NGAccess is perfect fit for you, you can go ahead and use it. References, of course, you need to keep yourself updated because changes keeps coming, right? So in case you want to be updated with NGRX, you can use ngrx.io, which is the official website of NGRX. And if you want to refer the blog post, so indep.dev has many blog posts from NGRX core team, so you can refer them here. And there is a starter application which was created by another Google developer expert, Thomas. So you can just use Angular NGRX material starter to see how your actually NGRX can be utilized in your application. And a special thanks to these two guys who always supported me while I was contributing to NGRX and still support me whenever I need some help. And they also helped me to actually create the slides when I was doing it for my first talk. So Wesley Greaves and Tim, they are the core members of NGRX and really nice guys. So you can follow them on Twitter as well. And whenever you have something to related to NGRX, you can just get in touch with them. And this is it. Thank you for listening to me, and hope you learned something new. And in case, of course, this is not the end, right? So this is only the start. As I said, my talk is getting started with NGRX, and once you start, you will have many issues. And if you have any questions in future, if you want to see or you are struggling with implementing NGRX in your application, you can always reach out to me, Tim, or Wes on Twitter. So this is my Twitter handle, Santosh Yadav Dev. And I'm also available on LinkedIn. So whenever you want to connect with me, feel free to do that. So this is it. I will share the GitHub repository for the project, which I have available. And I think I can just do that right now. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can just ask the questions. We have some time, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Then if anyone has question, then I can take it. I'm done with my talk to be.
I have a question, Santosh.
Yeah.
Like working with an application that the backend is not reactive. How do you go along ensuring that your store is always up to date with the information that is coming from the, let's say, from a backend that is not reactive, that you have to like call?
I mean, I didn't understood what you mean by your backend is not reactive. You mean it's not a real-time database where you are not able to save?
Okay, like it's not more of a backend that is giving you a stream of data. Like you have to call it for you to get back the data.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was asking, how do you keep your store updated in such scenarios? Yeah.
I mean, of course. So most of the databases are not real-time database or not reactive databases. So what we generally do is we use HTTP service, right, in Angular. So in Angular, there is an HTTP service which is available, and you can actually call your API using HTTP service. For my example, it was really simple, but let me show you in case you want to see that example where we are connecting to a backend. So Teams effect, and let me just show you. So this is where actually I'm getting the data from this particular API. So rather than returning the streams, I'm using the HTTP method, which by default converts your data to stream. You don't have to do that. So in case you have a backend or a REST API, which returns some data, it doesn't have to be observables or doesn't have to be a stream or reactive. So you just need to call that API, and it will HTTP method or HTTP service which is available inside Angular will convert it to a stream, and it will just respond you back.
Hi Santosh, this is Debmalia. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think we saw how to start with NGRX with effects and everything, but there were some other components which you mentioned, like I think component NGRX data and something about a component state. Would there be a future session where we would be able to see those as well?
Okay, so component store. So there were few. Let me just show you. There were actually there are already few talks which are available from the creator of those libraries. For example, this NGRX component is created by Michael Haldaki. So there are few talks which are already available, and he has been he's actually giving few talks already on NGRX component. And component store is still under development, but next month most probably this is June, right? Yeah, most probably next month or next to next month, Alex is planning to give a talk on component store. So whenever that is available, of course, I will post on the social media that this talk is happening, because I'm also excited about this component store library. And there were a few sessions where we had with him, where he explained us how it works internally. And of course, it was really long session, 2-3 hours. And there was a live stream as well. If you can just drop me a message, I will share that video where there was a live stream and he explained us how it works.
This is component store, was it?
Yeah, that was a component store. NGRX component, again, you can just search for some talks, recent talks of Michael Haldaki, and you will get it. Data is something which I always struggle with, because data, I'm not sure. I mean, data to me looks really complicated.
Yeah, I think I had seen the launch of data with John Papa. I think everything there is configured. Like even the APIs are configured. Like
exactly.
Yeah. It was complicated. I thought.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe you would have a session in the future.
Maybe we can plan a session in the future, but I have to actually read about it. I have never, because I'm pretty much comfortable using NGRX store and entity and effects, because it gives me freedom. In data, whatever I've read about data, it looks like it doesn't give me freedom to, so I have to play with those APIs which are available, and it's limited. So I cannot go beyond that. But in store, of course, I can just I can just save, update the data as I need. Similarly, entities, I have few APIs available, so I can just call them, add, remove, whatever I want to do. But with data, I think a little bit, that's the thing. But I will try to explore, and will try to come up with another talk maybe on data.
Okay.
Anyone else who has a question?
Did I answer the first question? I think there was a question related to, if I'm not wrong. I mean,
Kevin,
did I answer your question? You got the answer?
Yeah, you did answer partly, but my question was you say, when, let's say, you're working with such a service that you've shown in a component, each time that component initialization, you might do that. You might be calling this service in there. So I was asking, how do effects work in such a way that you can be able to, like, or do you call an effect on component when a component is initialized for you to get the data back?
Okay. So you're talking about when effects are triggered, right? Your question is around that. So this is something, to be frank, I mean, you are not the only person who got confused here. When I started, I was really confused how this effects works, because I was just looking into the entire doc, and it was not clear how it works. So finally I decided to write a code, and then I figured it out. Okay, this is the way it works. So to actually describe that, I will just go back to this particular image. So you can see there is a component. So I'll just show you this component and then try to relate this. So this component is my product component. Okay. Product component.ts. And then it dispatches an action. So here is the action. It dispatches an action called product load. Now this product load action is actually to get some data from backend. So if you see, I have not written anything here in reducer to handle this effect, to handle this action. So when you actually do that, when you raise an action, it actually checks into your reducer as well as effects. So remember that it goes, if it is available in effects as well, it will go ahead and call the effects, but there is a sequence. So first it goes to your reducer and then goes to effects. If I'm handling, for example, if I handle product load here also. So if I say on and say product, load. Okay, and product load. Comma. So what will happen is this will be executed first and then it will go to effects. Right now I have not written this code, so it directly goes to effects, but it goes to both. So that's the confusion I always had. So of course this is the answer, that it goes to both, and it will try to see if it is available in reducer, goes to reducer first, then goes to effects, and effects can again raise another action to do whatever it want to. So this is the sequence.
Yeah, that answers my question.
Yeah. I mean, of course, this is a little bit complicated to understand.
Then Santosh, another question is,
yeah,
when do you consider like using, like for example, I think I'm used to working with subjects and behavior subjects to manage state. So if I want to try NGRX, like what is the decision that should drive me in that direction?
Yeah, so really important question, of course. Why should I use NGRX, right? So remember, if I have an application where there are a lot of data which is available and I want to share all those information in my application, for example, the e-commerce application, right? So in e-commerce application, you will always try to get some data of your users into products, your product information into your cart. And again, if you go to cart, you will get some information out of your users information, right? For example, shipping address and all the details. So if you have a lot of data flying around and you want to make sure that those data are not retrieved again and again, generally this is what we do. We create an application, and whenever we need, for example, we create a new screen, for example, let's say cart. So we create a user cart. And if you need user information, what we do is we again make an API call. We don't think about, okay, how many API calls we are making, but we at the end we end up making some unnecessary call which can be reduced if I just save those data into my store. So this is where it helps. So what you can do is once user is logged in, you put all the user information into store. Now, whenever in my application I need the user information, I don't have to make an API call again. They are available into my store. And of course, my application is for logged in users. So I know that, okay, those user information is available and I can just retrieve from my store. No API call. You saved some navigation. You saved some time, right? You saved some your user time, because you don't have to make an API call and there will be a delay of few seconds to retrieve the information again. And this is where actually NGRX is very powerful. And of course, all the state management libraries as well. And generally, we always have discussion that, okay, NGRX is only for enterprise. I don't think so. That's something which is true. I mean, you can go ahead and use NGRX, install small application, just use NGRX store and effects. That's it.
Yeah, so thank you. So does it, I've forgotten the question. Thank you.
And there is few more things. I mean, the Angular team calls it as Shari principle. So if you go to the documentation ngrxio./docs, you will see something known as Shari principle, which the team calls it as Shari principle, which they say, okay, if you want to use NGRX, just go through these points to see if you really need NGRX in your application. But this is what I suggest. I mean, start from the day one, right? In my last talk, there was a question that what is the best time to you implement NGRX? And my answer was best time is today. So once so best time is actually the day you started your application. Remember, you can never guess how big your application will become. So it happens, right? You thought that, okay, your application will be really small, and then you decided not to use store, not to use state management in your application. After 4 or 5 sprints, you are into mess. You just figured out, okay, now my data is actually flying around. I'm not able to see which data to retrieve from where, and I end up making a lot of API calls. So do that from this day one. So you have everything under control. And I mean, don't wait till the time everything just blows up.
Thank you, Santosh. Is anyone else before we close? Is anyone else having who has a burning question with regards to what we've learned today? Anyone?
Santosh, I might have another question.
Yep.
Let's say from the state you had multiple slices, right? One say team and one say product. What if I need some information like a selector which needs information combined from both the team and product? Is there a way I can combine from both the slices?
Yeah, you can of course go ahead and do that. So what you have to do is this create selector functions, right? So you can actually pass multiple parameters here. So I can actually, for example, I think they support up to 31 overloads. So you can just pass, for example, if I wanted to in get cart, I wanted to also use this one get filters. So this is again a selector. So I can also pass this as a get filters as another selector, and everything will be available from this those two states right now, or two selectors. So similarly, you can actually get or use another selector which is coming from another state, and you can just retrieve the information.
But what if the feature was lazily loaded? Would it still be the same?
If it is lazy loaded, then you have to actually make sure that it is already available. Otherwise, you cannot. It will. The thing is, it will give you undefined error. So when you define the selectors, right, they are dependent on a feature selector. And in lazy loaded case, this feature selector is still not available.
Right.
And then you will just end up with an error, undefined.
There is no way to get around that. Like from the main slice, I want something from the feature slice as well, but the feature slice is lazily loaded. So there is no way to get around.
No. I mean, at least I have never done that. So you have to make sure that it is available. That's it. If I try to access it, I mean, there was an application. Yeah, in my current application, actually, I was doing that. So I was refactoring my application, and I ended up in the same mess. So there was some lazy loaded module, and we were trying to access the data, which is still not available.
Yeah, even I had the same problem once.
Yeah. So you have to just, in this case, you have to actually you have to specify your states properly, that okay, this is something which I need for everyone, so this should be available in my root module, not in my feature state. So you have to design properly based on what you need.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else having a question?
I think for me, I can say that this has been an awesome session. So thanks, Santosh.
Thanks for actually inviting me. And as I said, this is only start, right? So once you start, you will get errors, and I'm already always available on social media to help.
Okay, so since there is no question, I hope so. So I would like to thank Santosh for accepting our invite to come across. So we've learned a lot. So and I hope that we'll power our apps with RxJS if there is need, as we are saying. So Santosh, thank you for attending the session and for the presentation. And thanks for everybody who also managed to join. So from Angular Kenya, I think we extend our gratitude to you. So you're free to leave the meeting at your own pace, of course. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel. So we'll share the link, and on the description we'll add the links to the slides and the link to the repository that Santosh will share with us. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Santosh.
Yeah, where should I share this repository link? Do you because chat is not available?
Yeah. So you can just share it with me on Twitter. on my DM, and then I'll just share it with everyone.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. 1 second.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye. Good night.
Bye.